is Misty Shooter 223, and I'm making a little bit of homemade bread today to go with some spaghetti after a while for supper. And you'll hear my little chickies in the house because it's like 58 degrees outside and it's wet and rainy and cool. And we had them outside most of this week, but they were just so cold out there we decided to bring them back in this afternoon. We've been bringing them in at night, but letting them out during the day, so a little background noise. Anyway, I'm making some bread, and I didn't start videoing this because I didn't think about showing y'all it until it was already in the rising process. But this is what I have in here. I have put my oil, my olive oil. I put 1 pack of this yeast. And this has, I think, about 2 tablespoons in it, this yeast does. Pretty sure it does. 2 1/4 teaspoons. Anyway, I put the same amount of oil in here as here. I make 3 little piles, about the same amounts. And I'll put about the same amount of little pile, about 3 teaspoons of this, of my molasses. And you'll see when you put your yeast in there that all 3 piles are about the same size. And I'm mixing them together with about a cup and 1/4 of warm water. When I mix all that together good, I add this is a cup right here, so it's completely full. I add it into my yeast mix, and I mix it up really good, and then I'll add my whole wheat flour. You can see that. And I'll put my whole wheat flour on the top, and I'll add about a cup or enough to make it good and thick. And I put a little salt on the flour, about a teaspoon of salt. And then my Vital Wheat gluten, I put about a teaspoon of it in there. And then I'll put a teaspoon of my double-acting baking powder. And I'll kind of mix that flour up together on top, and then I'll blend it all together. And then I let it rise in a nice warm place, like on my stove. And this is what I have. This is my bread, my dough, and it's kind of, it's rose. I'm going to dump it down there, punch it down. And I'm going to just make some, they'll be kind of like sub buns or French bread type rolls. That's kind of how I'll make it because it's hard to kind of bake a whole loaf of bread on top of the stove. So I always like to do them in a roll type manner or a bun. A long skinny bun type manner. And I'll just take it and this where it's a little more handleable, get that right. And let's see, I want to separate it because I'll have 3 buns. And they're kind of different sizes. They're not real uniform in size. Not much flour there. Okay. Just get it all together. And I didn't knead it the first time. I don't really do a lot of kneading on this. I just really make this and I do my basic pizza crust dough. And it's just the same thing and just a different shape. Alright. Just make them kind of like that. Nice and flat. You can make them bigger or smaller. Get them all 3 that way. Just smush them where they all stick together. And you can pretty much make any shape of bread that you want to like this. But this just seems to cook the best because I'm cooking it on top, so it needs to be kind of small so it can bake thoroughly before I flip it over. Alright. Get this one. Kind of squish it out to the length that it needs to be without it being too flat. Sometimes I make more. I like to make 4 of them sometimes if I have more dough made up, but that's just kind of what it turned out to be. Okay, just a second. Let me grab my knife. This one. And I just personally take and make some little splits. Don't know what it's for, but I just like to do it whenever I'm going to cut it. Makes it easier to pull it apart. Okay, I'm going to just use some one skillet today. Let me get there real quick. Back around. And I'm going to just rub some lard in the bottom of the skillet. I want to do it on the edges of the skillet so that way if they're on the edge and it wants to rise, it can climb up it. It won't climb up it if it's greasy. It'll just kind of stay there and have a little more surface to climb on. This longest one here in the middle and these on the outside, and that will be a full bowl of bread once it's rose. And I'll let this rise for about a half an hour or so until it's doubled in size, and then I'll put it on top of the stove and bake it, and I'll come back in just a little bit whenever I am ready to put it on the stove and you can see the rest of the size. Oh, hold on. Also, I'm going to do this. A little butter. I forgot. A little butter on top of it. A little flavor. Gotta have a little flavor to it. We're gonna have spaghetti, which we do it even when we don't have spaghetti. I like to have a garlic bread. It's more or less than just what it is. Let's put my garlic powder on top. Lots of it. Makes it good that way. And then when I get done, I'll slice it open and butter it and put more in the inside. Alright, there you go. So I forgot something. I'll be back in just a little while. Okay, I was just going to add this in while I'm waiting for my bread to rise before I bake it. This is my own lard. We raised a pig this year. We raised 2, but we gave 1 away. We plan on raising 2 more again this year. And so that way we can have a lot more lard and more bacon and just more meat all the way around. And the feed that we fed our hogs is organic feed. There is no GMO corn in it or anything else like that. They make it here in the community, and they grind it and everything, and they sell it to the people in the community here. So that's where we get our hog feed from. And it don't have no additives, no preservatives, or nothing else like that. It's just pure 100% lard. Very good for you. Well, I'd say it's better for you than any of the oils that you buy from the store. And whenever you go to fry stuff, it makes just a much better meal. It's just very creamy, very milky white, you know, and it just leaves a good flavor. And, you know, I was watching somebody else's video the other day, and I'll give him a shout out later on about lard, and he was talking about his cast iron skillet full of lard. And he is right that it doesn't retain the flavor of the other foods you were cooking in it, and it does last a lot longer than canola oil will or anything else. And, you know, if you do cook fish in it, it's not going to hold that fishy taste when you go to fry. If you want to fry your fish and then fry your hush puppies and fry your potatoes in it all, you know, back to back, you're not going to keep that fishy taste in all your other stuff. But I recommend anybody using it. And, you know, if you want to season your cast iron skillets, this is what you want to use. Alright, just wanted to give you all that little tidbit, and be back in a bit. Alright, my bread has doubled in size, and I'm going to move it over here onto the heat. See how nicely it is? And it all helped each other rise because it was stuck together. And I will bake this until it's almost done, and then I will flip it over like I do my biscuits. This lid back on it, carefully. It's kind of touching. Oh, and I need a bigger lid. And we'll put it right over here on this heat. And I will spin it periodically so I have a nice even bake because it's warmer on the inside. Got a little noisy in here right now because we got the generator running, doing laundry, and a few things hanging up in the house to dry. But I'll be back with you in just a little bit. Okay, it's ready to turn now. Now let's see here. Gets underneath it right. Pull it out. And flip. Ready to turn. Alrighty. Let that bake for just a few minutes on the other side. Down in there. Tastes good. And I'll be back with you in just a few minutes and show you the whole deal. Alright, got my bread off the stove and it's done. And this is what it looks like. Flip that one over. There you go. I'm going to cut this open. Cut this one open. And fill it full of butter and garlic powder. It's so good. Hot, see that steam? A little butter. That way it just kind of all soaks in there and all that flavor does. Garlic powder. And I'm going to do this one a little differently. I'm going to put a little Parmesan cheese in it and see how it does. Alrighty. Put a little butter on that side. And I'll be back in just a little bit and I'll show you my layout of our meal. And then we're going to have supper. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, I'm going to finish this video up and I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine here on YouTube. She doesn't have no videos, but she's got a pretty good channel because she likes me. Anyway, she's from Chautauqua, Montana, and she's sending me a package in the mail. It'll be probably a week or so before it gets here. I'm excited. I think it's coming in a 5-gallon bucket, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I'm going to do a video on it. I just wanted to let y'all know that, and this is our meal. Some spaghetti and sauce and my homemade bread and a little salad to go with it. It just turned out really, really nice. That's good. Y'all have a good day.
I've been up and down and out, and I have been around, and I felt good more times than I felt bad.